when we pulled into this gas station this given evening in our travels, he absolutely became unglued to the point where there was, he literally, I mean, just exploded and went to an absolute conniption. And it startled myself, it startled my son, and I thought, this is absolutely crazy. What is going on? And he just kept saying, Diesel, get out of here. And I thought, could this really be a legitimate situation that has actually caused the justification for this sort of absolute breakdown? So immediately I sensed to call Dr. Brad. My son got him on the phone. We pulled away from the gas tanks and got into the corner so we could kind of just de-escalate the situation as much as possible. And we got Dr. Brad and Lisa. Graciously, they responded. And he was able to explain kind of the circumstances, where we were at, what was going on. He was able to talk with Glen, even in the situation that Glen was in. Now, mind you, his cognitive function was very, very poor. To try and communicate on the phone was a challenge, extreme challenge for him, as just communicating with him face to face had become very challenging. And Dr. Brad and Lisa, they are so patient and just asking very basic, simple questions. So he was able to determine, and just through, questioning and backtracking some basic things and getting some answers from Glen, what was actually going on. And so what he discovered was that, due to an injury from many years ago, Glen was reacting to Diesel. And it was actually creating a response in his brain, massive inflammation, where he was actually just not able to, he lost it literally, and what was actually going on. And so Dr. Brad was able to, over the phone, determine kind of on the front end, what is the minimum of what we're dealing with? What can we at this moment do to de-escalate and get him back on a level before taking that next step and really getting it back into a more thorough, conclusive situation where we can start redirecting his situation, getting his health restored, and bringing him back into a place where he can be who he is. My husband had really lost sight of that. He had lost hope for that. And I think, just having that capacity over the phone to reach out and for him to be able to ask some questions, do some testing with Glen over the phone to get to a place to say, hey, this is where we know that you're at minimum. This is where we know we can take you next. And to give him just that bit of hope to say, hey, we can do something here. This isn't all loss. This happened because of this. It substantiated my husband's capacity to understand that I'm not just totally crazy, but there was something literally physiologically going on. And it was also, connecting with some previous traumas in his life, but the traumas weren't the actual trigger. It was physiological things going on that through Dr. Brad's just precise questions and testing over the phone, mind you, 3 states away, he was able to get down to, this is what happened, this is why it happened, and these are the steps that we need to take to get him through, to get him home, because we had a couple of days of travel ahead of us, to get him home safely, and then we can spend a little more time getting the conclusive, detailed information, take that time on the phone, and figure out what needs to happen next. I just really wanted to share this. We've had so many experiences like this, even through his healing, which has been amazingly rapid. He has stayed persevering. It has been a challenge, and we have had our challenges. And I know that, what we found was that in the end, Glen's health had become extremely complex. His situation was very complex, but after taking the time, after getting home, we were able to sit down and really, Dr. Brad was able to thoroughly go through, with the help of Lisa, and figure out Glen's extremely complex situation. Again, I have many testimonies of how that's worked out, just the little things that we would catch if we would have a bad week. What's going on? Why do we all of a sudden feel like we're going backwards? What happened? It would be maybe one seemingly minor thing that anybody normally would have missed, but it was, a change in his physiology, a change in the water system, a change in the filter that we were using. It was, maybe something as simple as this product that we had been using, these oats or whatever. We just got a bad batch. But my husband was so very sick, and his situation was so extremely complex. I don't know that we started with any organ that was functioning at all, or at least not well. So we had a very complex situation to go through. And, we would go 2 or 3 days and then something would change. And he was able to get immediately on top of what was going on, figure out what it was, what was the trigger, what was the item that had been introduced in Glen's environment, whether it was, something that was a chemical that had engaged into our environment, and a dryer sheet came through, or whatever it was, that he was so sensitive that things like that would actually put him down for 4, 5, 6 days, once the item was actually removed. So to get on top of that, to stay on top of that, and to say, hey, whoa, you know what, you're going backwards. Well, let's find out what this is. And he's been able to do that. And it's really caused some encouragement, I think, for my husband, I know for me, to be able to see just the turnaround, but the precision and the care, and the patience that it's taken to deal with Glen's very complex situation, and to see the turnaround. This approach is far more effective, and you really just don't miss anything. So I have found 100% efficacy in working with Dr. Brad in the office and outside of the office. We haven't lost anything except for just that personal visual. And of course, presence is always great, but it hasn't adjusted for us anything in the level of care, and accuracy, and Glen's healing, really. And just having that co-support to say, hey, you're not alone in this.